So if you were like me, you might be an introvert. And introverts, contrary to popular belief, are not anti-people or anti-social. What we are is pro-people who get energy by being by ourselves. And extroverts are people who may not even love people, but they get energy by being with people. And so I had the privilege of interviewing Ken Miller today for our podcast on Black Philanthropy, Our Stories. And we went the full time. And usually after a podcast recording, I do need to take a nap. And that's purely because so much energy is expended in engaging and asking and enjoying. And I usually have the ritual of after a podcast, I'll just go for a walk, which I did, or I'll just sit by myself in here in the studio and I'll be quiet just again to get some energy back. And I couldn't do it because I was so excited. And this is the case actually for every single podcast episode that we do. I set aside those couple of hours to be able to do the recording. And then afterwards, I can't concentrate because I'm so excited about what we talked about. And then so I'm supposed to be quiet, sitting on the couch, doing the introvert artist thing of being quiet and closing my eyes. But then I just think, God, but that episode was so awesome. And so I just thought, well, why don't I just tell you quickly about why that episode was so awesome? And before I do that, I just wanted to say thank you to our community members, Renisha and Art and well, I have to look at this paper because Art and Renisha and Doris and Ricky and Steven and Kmanje and Morris. Thank you so much for taking the time to submit your questions. And it's just awesome. I'm glad we do it. It's only been done a couple times, but including your questions to our guests, it just makes for a richer conversation. I appreciate my capacity to ask meaningful questions, but they're even better when they're with you, including your questions with us. So thank you for raising the bar on how to engage today, Ken, in conversation. But let me just say why the podcast was so awesome. And I will just tell you, I never thought about this before. I wish I would have been able to create a video for all of our previous episodes because they were all so awesome. It didn't occur to me because I was trying to be quiet and trying to be an introvert and get some energy back. But I think it would be awesome to keep on doing this, to just tell you quickly why the episode was so awesome. So Ken is, as you know, is a master fundraiser. And he's certified and certifications upon certifications upon certifications and has all of these board leaderships within fundraising organizations. But what was so awesome was to listen to him talk about his love for Black men, talk about his experience being in prison, talk about his experience living in Anchorage as a Black man, talk about being in foster care, talk about being adopted, talk about selling crack, what it means to sell crack, what that experience was like selling crack. We didn't go a lot of detail into that, to be clear, but to be open about how that experience impacted his life, what addiction is like, what self-esteem or lack thereof is like, what fear, how to overcome fear, what it means to be a mentor, what it means to draw boundaries as a mentor, what it means for not drawing boundaries as a mentor, and how that can impact someone's marriage, what it means to not see Black men in the space of fundraising, why Black men are leaving fundraising, what makes someone a good fundraiser. And on and on and on. He challenged me. He believes that philanthropy is one of the kindest, most gentlest sectors in comparison to the for-profit space that he's been in. And I thought, I don't know that I would identify philanthropy as a sector to be so kind and so gentle. But even in that conversation together with him today, that I had to reevaluate my own experiences on how I relate then to philanthropy. Not that I reevaluate my experiences in philanthropy, but how I relate those experiences, that particularly the ones that were negative and painful and hurtful and lonely, how that relates to the sector and what that means in relation to other sectors. And so it was just awesome. Ken is, of course, a public speaker. He is someone who is eloquent, who is thoughtful. But I just am so grateful to do this work. I'll just say it again and again, that I just am doing this podcast. I just started doing this podcast initially at the beginning of this year, because I wanted to take the edge off. I wanted to sleep at night, because I had the idea after leaving the Harvard's Black alumni, a reunion, Changemakers reunion that we all went to, 1,000 of us went to last September, and I just had this feeling like, wouldn't it be interesting or cool or helpful if someone celebrated Black leaders and their stories in philanthropy? And so I just, it's a lot of work. It's more work than I anticipated. And that's okay, to do a podcast. But I ultimately just wanted to do it because I just, sometimes the universe, God, the ancestors, yourself, or just need keeps you up at night, keeps on nudging you and tapping you and saying, you should do that thing. And in fact, my mom said, aren't you going to do that podcast? It's like February earlier this year. And so I just did it because I wanted to quiet the noise of you ought to, you ought to, you ought to. And I never would have imagined that that would lead to having guests like Ken Miller or Stephen Wallace or Maisha Simmons, who's we're going to be recording later this week as well, or Cece Gardner or Brianna Rogers or Darren Goss or Jason Terrell or Jason Garrett or Steve Assor. It's just been a real privilege. And the fact that you're a part of this community, the fact that you even listen. I wondered, will anybody ever watch this show when I get these episodes on YouTube to actually watch them? Will they listen to this show? Because the episodes are up on Spotify and Apple and all of that. And then you do. And so I just want to express my gratitude to you, Ken, for taking the time to be on our podcast today, to show up in your life with integrity, to remind people, especially people who are formerly incarcerated, who might have sold crack. Isn't that amazing? Might have sold crack and yet can then move into the industry of fundraising, into the philanthropic sector, and still have a 6-figure job and still travel the world on behalf of changing people's lives through their fundraising. It's so awesome. I thank you, our listeners, to continuing to show up to read my long ass emails. And I'm sorry that they are so long, but I'm a writer and I just don't know another way to be more succinct. And a video could do that, but even the videos are long and I get that. Thank you for your time. I don't take this work lightly. I don't take you lightly. I don't take our guests lightly. I don't take this moment that we're in this country that is just like, God damn, if only you could turn on the news and just feel like, things are getting better. For many of us, it doesn't feel like that, and not even feel it isn't like that. And philanthropy has a very interesting opportunity to be a part of this moment of transition that the country, and as a result, the world is going in. And so to help highlight Black leaders who are helping to think through how this sector responds to this moment in the world that for many of us feels confusing. To be able to ask each guest, where do you find hope? Because I'm listening for myself as well. And I hope you're listening for yourself as well, just to be reminded that these things will get better. Things can get better if we make the choices to make them better. People often say, no one asked me this question, but I think it's important for it to be said. People often say, we've been here before. And so, I guess we'll be all right. Well, we'll be all right if we make the choices to be all right. And I think leaders like Ken, I think colleagues like you that listen in each week that are making the choices to make things better. We are about 5 episodes that are in the queue before you'll see Ken's episode. Most likely, depending on I'm a one-person show most days. I'm the producer of this show. I'm the host of this show. I'm the director of this show. I'm also the editor for this show. So I do all of it. And I also run Samuel Murray. And I also think that I have a life outside of this, but I really don't. I have a partner and I have a dog and I have a great family, but most days I'm doing this podcast and I'm running this company and I'm raising money for as a filmmaker for our enslaved narrative work. And so that all that to say is to give you context that sometimes it takes me a little bit of time to be able to get the episode out. But it will be out, and it'll be both the audio version will come out first, and then the YouTube versions take a little bit more time because I had to do a little bit more editing for that regarding how that shows up on video versus how that shows up on audio. Anyway, thank you for your time today, and I just wanted to thank you for being a part of our community and for supporting me in this nudge of, wouldn't it be interesting or helpful or cool to be able to do a podcast on Black leaders in philanthropy. And it is really cool. It's really awesome. And it's awesome because we've got awesome guests, and it's awesome because you're here. So thank you so much for your time today.